Ladies and gentlemen, please remove all hats, spectacles, testicles, wallets, and watches for Pocket Cast. I'm Fletcher.
And I'm Ed.
And we can be found on Twitter. You'll find that in the description.
Wow.
And we are recording in a new space today.
It's my space.
It's your space. I'm excited to hear the sound difference.
Oh, God. It was... I just remember we were talking about it earlier today, and I was like, my place is super echoey. So I've got a smelly comforter hanging over the window. And it seems to be doing okay.
It really gives it this nice college mood in here.
Damn.
You know?
Yeah, it really does. I don't know that I would say nice.
It's its own kind of nice.
Yeah, it's all right. It is okay.
You know, it sticks to the, we had talked about, fucking, 4 episodes ago, we had the joke about how the audio levels were always changing, and we were actually tricking people by, our canter and things like that to, make them addicted. And this is, once again, fueling that ADD need.
Yeah, it's this, what would they call it? Subliminal hypnosis, perhaps?
Throw some ASMR in there, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to be that. I get so mad. I get so frustrated.
Let me go get my microphone cover that's shaped like an ear, so I can put it in my mouth.
I gotta walk past somebody listening to a TikTok and it has the ASMR little things in it. And it just fucking kills me. I don't understand how scratching a microphone can be a satisfying sound. I understand some of the ASMR. Some of it I understand. I understand pleasing noises. Who doesn't understand that?
Sure.
But the choice of them sometimes, and then other times I think that I'm just old and getting trolled is probably what it is, maybe.
I don't know if you're getting trolled as much as, I don't know, man. You and I grew up right before, phones and, the internet really became a thing. So, I can't tell you how many times I've thought to myself, wow, I'm glad I didn't have a fucking iPhone 14 in high school. I might,
Yeah, I probably would have done something stupid.
I would. Hella would have done. I
already
already did.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, fuck, we had MSN and Facebook and because Facebook, I was in high school when Facebook came around publicly.
Definitely.
I think we were probably middle schoolers when Facebook was the big deal for college.
Yeah,
people.
the MySpace Facebook transition for sure.
Yeah.
But we still had that hybrid background, right?
Yeah, we had.
No, I don't want everybody knowing my shit. I'd be embarrassed as fuck. And now, and everyone was for 10 years. Everyone was like, "Oh, I'm kind of embarrassed about this stuff on the internet." And then everyone's
what
nah.
you liked, because your Tumblr was separate from your Facebook.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
Oh, my Tumblr's still separate from my Facebook.
But
yeah,
now you see that kind of shit that you would see on Tumblr.
Oh, dude,
on
people
Facebook
are posting
all the time.
Yeah,
because I remember when it was Instagram used to be the safe thing to scroll through, and then Instagram no longer was safe. So then it was when I'm at work, I'll scroll through Facebook.
Yeah, no.
Now that's not even fucking safe. But now it is also safe. It's okay to see some half naked person on someone's phone, or the one that blows my mind, and I don't know if it's old guys being unaware or the lack of care. But they'll be watching videos that have the notoriously that sound clip is only used for basically porn.
Yeah, people rat themselves out because the sound clip they're listening to is oh, that's a thirst trap clip.
Yeah, that's the only time I've heard that. And so and they're just sitting at the bar, just have it going.
Yeah, I mean, part of that I have to think on the old men's part. That's one part don't give a shit. And another part, ignorance. Right? I don't think they're putting that together. Everyone, it's every time you hear a joke about the Grindr notification sound, right? Giving married men away because
right, and I have no idea what that sound is.
I do because I watched a 5-minute comedy clip just last night or some shit. It just featured that sound back to back to back. It was hilarious.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's the same thing.
When the Pornhub thing was, they were putting that song into videos to make it sound like someone was about to start watching porn, or it was that there was the trick thing with that song. I did not know that song because
really?
I never used Pornhub. Really, that's just not the site that I used.
I mean, I like to rotate around.
It's just not the one in my rotation.
Reddit changed their API policies, like third-party API, basically how much and how or like when you have to pay Reddit by volume for how many API calls you're making, which directly affects third-party apps. And so Reddit for iOS sucks ass. API is a application programming or programmable interface, something like that.
So what's that translate Englishly?
So basically, Reddit has the Reddit application. You go to reddit.com, it loads reddit.com, right? And then they have their mobile app, and I don't know what kind of app it is, doesn't really matter too much, but basically it either has its own like back end separate from .com, but they probably pull from the same content sources, like or it's a wrapper of the website. So it might have its own custom front end shell, but on the back end, it's still making service calls to get the information from the website API endpoints. And that's all it is. It's just a node that you can access over the network, usually the internet in this instance, to get information from something, usually an application.
Okay.
So third-party apps have to call all of the API endpoints to get the information to load the pages in the app. So the Reddit for iOS app sucks dick. Sucks fat dick. There was this third-party app, Apollo, and Apollo was sick. It had like an option where you could have multiple account profiles loaded in. So your account info saved, and you just like, whoop, tap a button, load a different profile. So, you get where I'm going with this. You get anonymity.
Porn profile.
Yeah, you have a porn profile. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, one tap,
flip of
boom,
a switch.
Dude, just boom. And it's so sneaky, dude. You're not like, no one, and I could have 10 of these, bro. I could put like really raunchy shit all the way at the bottom. So, and dude, it was beautiful because like, oh, dude, yeah, okay, so all of the image and file sharing platforms have like audio with GIFs now. So you just have it's a select a wheel of porn. And you just like, everybody's got the clips loaded in there and you're like, oh, that's the one. Let's go to the source. Dude, curated pornography. All right, there's none of this endless scrolling for bullshit. No. You just delve into your kinks on the internet. You find the weird shit that you didn't know there was a name for out there, and then you follow like 5 of the subreddits, and then anyway, so Reddit changed how their shit works, and they're charging way more money now. So my favorite fucking app, Apollo, just died. They just took it down like a week and a half ago.
Damn, blue ball Ed over here.
No, so anyway, so I've been on Pornhub lately. So that's how I know that one. Which reminds me of SNK versus Capcom card fighters.
Yeah, it really, there's a lot of similarities that you wouldn't expect to find between a porn website and a card game, which we totally thought was a fighter game.
Definitely thought it was a fighter game. Not a fighter game.
Not a fighter game. Not in the slightest. That's the thing that we had laughed about, was that we covered our slight knowledge of fighter games, and it turns out that didn't matter. So before we get into SNK Capcom card fighters, I'm curious about, you strike me as the kind of guy, like, I know that you've played some Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Hearthstone, I'm sure you were into at one point.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, so you've got more card game experience than I do.
Shit.
What
you're probably right on that.
What about Pokemon trading card game? You ever played that one? It was a Game Boy Color game.
Pokemon, I just never could get into Pokemon.
Well, I guess it
wasn't
accessible
to be my
for
whole
you.
life, and it just I don't have that childhood charm to like pull me in.
Yeah.
And at this point, I feel like my interests are set in such a way that I'm just really not.
Well, I don't
have the time to branch out.
Even as a kid, the trading card game, as a Pokemon fan, it wasn't for Pokemon like game or
that's
show
definitely
fans.
true.
It was a hard card game. Like most card games, I feel like.
Oh, there's definitely
there's an immediate learning curve.
Yeah,
that's steeper than a battle game, or However, what is a funny comparison I'm just now making is that a fighting game's learning curve is kind of similar to a card game's. It's steeper, I would say. A fighting game's is.
No, I kind of see where you're going with this. All right, it takes some time because you have to learn your character and your own move set and abilities, as well as everyone else's
and the response to it.
Yeah, so you have to really play a lot to learn a lot before you can actually begin to play the game and formulate strategies. Like,
I'd say those two share that a lot.
Yeah, that's a pretty good interesting point. Yeah, I like that.
So, what's your favorite card? Well, not card game, but what do you call these types of card games?
Card fighting games. Yeah, Card battlers.
Card battler.
That's kind of what I was thinking of. On the internet, it seemed like this specifically was card fighters, and I think that's like a term.
Well, yeah, just for the series.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking to myself, card battler made more sense. But I definitely think of something like Hearthstone, and I think it definitely thought of Magic. It's weird because it doesn't feel like either of them, but it's definitely both of them at the same time. But one thing that I would say both of those games had that this game lacked was brevity in its information. Right? You look at the face of a Hearthstone card or a Magic card, and as long as you know like what the icons are and everything, you know everything up front. And this one, it does have the bulk of it there when you're looking at like the deck builder, because it'll show you the colored bubbles that tells you what kind of like I don't remember what the game calls them, but basically your
power
mana
points.
Yeah, power points to be able to play and use cards. There's like 5 different elements, I believe.
I mean, you've got the blank one, you've got yellow, green, red, blue.
Yeah,
that's what I mainly encountered.
Yeah, that's what I know of. So it's pretty similar in that way, but on the platform, you have to like scroll through to see like your health and attack power, which is super important to know.
Well, isn't that the first thing it tells you is health and first thing
health
you see.
and BP, I think
BP and HP, battle points,
whatever.
That's what I figured it was.
It's a direct correlation to how much damage they do.
You do, yep.
And then the next screen shows the cost to play the card into your active hand or your field, your deck, whatever. Yep. I think.
And it also gives you the information on the front when it tells you the health and stuff. It tells you what type of card it is.
Oh, yeah.
Right, because they all have a certain color type that they are.
What I found is you basically have different types of cards in a given set, right? Because most of the cards are going to be grouped by like what color mana or what did you call it?
What do you mean grouped?
Well, so each card primarily represents one of the colors for the most part.
Yeah.
So it'll have usually that color summon requirement. It will produce so much of that color mana per turn, and then to use its ability, assuming it has one, that has a cost as well.
Yep.
And so you can group these cards primarily by like what color their requirement and output is. But for each of those categories, you have like a handful of like low cost summons that usually cost the white, which is any. Mm-hmm. And they'll produce one of that color to kind of get you in, because it starts you off with usually I think just like a couple of like white mana points or whatever. So anyway,
yeah, you start out with what, 2 or 4?
It's something
3.
Something like that.
I think it's 3 actually. I think it's right between. 3? I think it's 3.
It's usually enough to like somehow barely put one out, but then the AI can put 3 out every time.
Well, see, and that's I can tell you the strategy right there, and that's what I was about to say is you can very quickly start to see some strategy. I think Ed kind of roughly covered some things there that are gonna become more. They're gonna need a more clear explanation.
Yeah.
As we get further into it.
It's very complex, but it hands you no tokens. Like,
say I pull you pull 5 cards out at the beginning.
Yeah.
And it has it's a yellow type card. Mm-hmm. And it costs 3 blanks to use. Mm-hmm. If I burn that card within that turn, I get a yellow point because I burned a yellow type card.
I did finally notice that.
So now I've got 3 blanks and a yellow, which means I can pull up potentially a stronger guy that I have because he only requires 2 blanks and a yellow. I have one person that requires just 1 blank. Now I've got 2 people on the field. I can burn another card, because I've now got 2 cards left in my deck.
Right.
So you can burn 1 or 2 of those, and then you're going to get more of those colors to spend the next turn as long as your cards of those types stay in play, as in they don't get killed. Because if they get killed off, you don't get those points again. And
because you only generate the mana per active card at the start of your turn. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
And one thing is that I saw, by the time you get to the second boss, you're running into even the AI throwing different strategies at you, and you got to try to figure out and honestly kind of guess what strat they're going to throw out, because you could just throw out like your expensive cards you can throw out, get those points, and then you can just throw in a bunch of really cheap to use people that are low health.
Yeah.
But when your full thing is filled with people, and I've got like 2 cards out and they're both locked up and I can't use them or defend myself, you're about to do so much damage to me.
Yeah.
Even with all these low point people that are going to be able to be taken out later on. So there's immediately a handful of strategies to try to figure out, and you're trying to advance in the game, fighting harder and harder people as you're trying to learn, because like you said, you are right, it is not very giving in that sense. No, and telling you what to do or teaching you. There's this very short tutorial that is kind of hard to understand.
Yeah, it doesn't even really explain to. It's really more like, hey, here's what the buttons are, and you're like, yep. There's not a lot of them, and I've played a game before, so we're good. And then that's pretty much it. They're like, yeah, put cards down, be good, win.
You're like, okay. And the English is so broken too that if it is trying to give me any information, I can't understand it.
No, it's the translation's pretty rough. The game really fucked my face for a hot minute when I first started playing, because I knew it was a card game coming in, but I was really thinking something a little bit more handholdy like Hearthstone. Because that's one of the reasons why I like Hearthstone, and ultimately, actually, whatever the digital version of Magic is. I think it might just be Magic the Gathering.
This is Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, whatever. So, and it's just because my requirement to remember all of the intricate rules that are just so tedious becomes almost unnecessary, because the game has those rules built in. And I don't have to remember if it's my turn or not. So I can just focus on what the cards do.
Yes.
And then for the most part, I can have a good time at pretty much almost any skill tier. This game, I like for 3 fights, I didn't realize that I needed to like change the page of the card to view like the different stats and stuff. And I just knew that sometimes I could put a card down, and sometimes I couldn't. It just felt really arbitrary, and I was looking at health and damage, and I was like, okay, how are we comboing? What is it was pretty brutal.
I think I gotta put you. I understand where you're coming from when you say that it doesn't hold your hand enough. You said earlier about Magic the Gathering and how it's all very explained well on the card.
Yeah,
I disagree. My experience with Magic the Gathering was like way back first in like early 2000s.
Okay.
And then yes, I agree with you. It was a pretty easy game, even for like a 6th grader.
Yeah.
Like myself to play.
And are you talking about the digital version, or are you talking about the card cards?
The card cards.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the card cards.
So then when you get you are right where when you're talking about the game, it holds your hand for like, you have to fight through 30 people before you can even get out of that tutorial.
Well, and I just mean that like the game itself, because the rules engine is built in, and it literally
won't let you do
fuck up the
things.
Game, right?
Yeah. Well, I would say the same thing in this one.
100%, except like
because it even tells you, hey, you need to end your turn on the.
Well, and then my criticism of this game isn't solely like Magic better. I think they did a good job with the screen real estate they had, certainly at this pixel density. Because, I mean, I think I can play Magic the Gathering in like 4K if I wanted to. So, like, I could put a Bible on there on like a 3x2 inch display box, and I'd be able to read it.
That's fair.
But no, sorry, I didn't mean to totally interrupt you, but I wasn't trying to be like unfair. That's all I meant right
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I see what you're saying where it isn't the most approachable thing, and that's where it instantly made me think of the Pokemon trading card game, because it instantly you're having to figure out a strategy, and it hasn't given you any lessons in the strategy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of frustrating. But I thought it was pretty easy to tell, because right away when you look at your card, at the top of it, it's like, I need so many of these and so many of these to be played. And then when you do click on it, sometimes they have a special attack and sometimes they don't. You could usually tell that just in general by if they were just a small, easy, like blank fill character to throw in.
Yeah.
Or if they took more different colors to put this card in, then that's more likely to have a special attack. But also the special attacks are something I didn't use too much.
Oh, really?
The fusion attack is what I used
a lot. The fusion attack was pretty pimp.
Because if you use a fusion attack, what you do is you would just kind of sit there and just build up points, because it takes a good amount of points.
It does.
And if you use your 2 people to do a fusion attack, you can't use them for defense on the next round or the next turn. Yeah. And that's when the other person's going to be attacking you. Yeah. So you want to make sure that you have cards on the table to defend you, and then you just sit there and just start building up points.
Oh.
And then you start using those criticals, or the what were they called?
The fusion attacks?
Fusion, yeah.
Yeah.
Use the fusion and use it on the weakest card that person has out, and what's going to happen is the dividend
damage
between the damage that you cause to that card, or the leftover damage from what you cause to that card from your 2 cards combined, their special attack.
Yeah.
That is all just straight to the player, and that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to take out the player's health points. It's like Yu-Gi-Oh in that sense. And and Magic has that too.
So does Hearthstone, honestly.
Okay, so it's pretty much a like staple to the...
It is. That's honestly how I won all of my fights.
See, and that's where we were talking about earlier today, where I think you could kind of rig it, where all of a sudden you start doing that, and they would like mess the computer up in a certain way where they would almost stop attacking and just start building points, but never do anything with the points that they were building.
I did definitely have several fights where I'm like, okay, well, the enemy AI combatant is just farming points. They're just like their field is full, and they're just drawing a card each turn and just ending their turn. And I'm like, what are you doing over there, Haas?
Like, what do you know that I don't know?
Yeah.
Turns out nothing.
Did you? I finally like got keyed into a bunch of shit when I went through and actually looked through the deck builder, because every time you instigate a fight, because it's almost Pokemon-esque.
Yeah.
Right. You've got this tower, you have to clear. Each floor has so many people that you have to beat, because they're all mind fucked by this Max, this card fighting computer
that wants to take over the world through card fighting. I don't know how you're gonna do that.
This is the stupidest. Oh, it's the worst fucking storyline. I mean, there's no point to having the story.
No, and they even make a joke about that in the story. It's really, it's so bad that I like it.
It's not an injustice, fighting storyline, that's for sure.
No, it is Metabots maybe. That's talking shit about Metabots, really.
Yeah, really.
It's pretty empty, but it's great because you don't need the story. They very quickly, early on, make a joke about how bad the story is.
Yeah.
Obviously, the team didn't give a shit about it because they did nothing to translate it or localize it. They punched this thing into a translator and just whatever came out, copy-paste. It does not make sense sometimes, and it's the funniest thing. Also, isn't there like... it's going to be the hardest thing for me to describe, but when you're reading the text, the conversations, there's times where they take a word... in the English language, I can't even think of an example right now. Lightning.
Yes.
And then they use that for like, there's lighting in the room or something like that, or like they are lightening the room, or I don't know how to describe it, but instead of a word, we have to cut so much of this. They use this word, that if you say it, you go, oh, okay, that could sound like two English words.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're saying. There's a word for those words. It's not quite, what is that, a homonym? Words that sound the same but have a separate meaning? Or maybe it's the same meaning?
But it's not even, they're not even
it's
homonym.
Yeah, but it's not even. I know what you're saying.
They take a word like next and find a way of, the best example for this is those memes of the Mexican word of the day. Do you remember those? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Once again, can't think of an example here.
Yeah, sensuous. I told my wife, since she was up, get me a beer.
Exactly.
You're welcome.
That is the exact definition, like the exact example of what you run into in this game.
Yeah.
Where they do that in the game, and it's so fucking funny and weird and confusing at first.
Oh, dude, it's great, and every ounce of dialogue in this game, honest to God, completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like, you could literally have no dialogue. Did you run into any cutscenes?
Well, I mean,
the dialogue kind of is a cutscene.
The dialogue is the cutscene, yeah.
But, like, not really. It's just like it's like Fire Emblem, like, dialogue, right? Like, the name, like, the characters just pop up, dialogue box disappear.
It's just like you said, it's like Pokemon, too, where you you walk up and it's like, oh, I like to catch bugs. Do you want to battle?
You're like,
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm here,
only
kid.
here to kick your ass. Yeah.
There's a lot less to it, even though, than Pokemon, because you don't even get there's no actual movement. You just, like, the bottom screen, it has, like, it's not even a
grid,
map,
right? It's
just a grid.
And there's circles. There's like blue circles, or they're red circles. The red ones
the
are
red
the ones
circles
you have to beat,
for the ones you
once
haven't
you beat
fought
one,
yet.
another one basically opens up, and it
turns green, and then you just cycle between them, like.
Because once you beat them, the machine no longer has control over.
Right, we have to beat these kids in a card fighting, game in order to free them from the mind
grits.
enslavement.
God, it is a what and like the one thing we had talked about earlier too that baffles me about this game. There's so many things that baffle me about it, and it's something that I think I really enjoy about it. And it's not even the gameplay itself, but Hearthstone, I guess, is an example of this, where the card game doesn't exist.
What? Oh, like the physical card game.
Physical cards
Sure.
However, the first SNK versus Capcom Card Fighters comes out in, like, 97? 99. So it comes out before the actual SNK versus Capcom / Capcom versus SNK fighting games.
Yep.
And I imagine it was kind of like a marketing deal. But you would think at the same time, especially with these series, having fan bases in the times of the late 90s, card games are still kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I'd say they're peaking probably because 98's Pokemon. So
for sure.
99, yeah, it's the time to make collectible card games, tradable card games, that type of thing.
Yeah.
There is no actual Capcom versus SNK card fighting cards.
Yeah, and I couldn't find anything on it either. I was hoping to find something juicy to suggest that maybe they were thinking about it or something, but I couldn't find dick on it. There just aren't any.
Yeah, and there's not very much information on it. There are positive reviews on the old ones, it seemed like, from what I'd seen. People enjoyed it, but they came out on the Neo Geo Pocket.
Yeah.
Which is not a very common.
No.
As a person that loves handhelds, you look through and you keep looking at all these different handhelds that you missed out on, things like that. The Neo Geo Pocket and the Wonder Swan are barely the two of them that I'm just like, oh, I would love to have those and play it on the actual hardware, because they do have a remake that's a collection of the first and second game, which were both for the Neo Geo Pocket. And that's on the Switch.
Okay.
And so when doing research and the review, anything you're trying to find, people are covering that. No one is covering the DS game. Barely anyone is talking about the other two games. And there had to be some kind of demand or interest in it for it to merit 3 games.
Yeah.
And the third game comes out fucking
2007
2007. So
in the U.S. The year before in
like
Japan.
8 years after the original. So
Yeah.
probably 6 years after that. You know, it seems like there was a hiatus.
Well, the second one came out in 2000, a year after the first.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I had also read that the first two were well received. You know, and I couldn't find a lot for reviews on this third title that we played. But what I did find, it was really mixed. It was mostly like negative or below negative.
Yes.
Like sub 50s for sure.
So we had this thing that we've been doing where we like call out reviewers and like that we disagree with.
Yeah.
So I ran across one this week.
Okay.
That's like near and dear to my heart.
Whoa.
It was from X-Play.
Oh,
You remember watching X? You ever watch X-Play?
Maybe.
It had Morgan Webb and Adam Sessler. They reviewed games. They showed game previews.
Oh shit.
It started out on like Tech TV as extended play. And I watched it back then, back before it had like the cast that ended up having. I mean, Adam Sessler was pretty much always in it, but I think there was a different chick back then. And it was just this great nerdy deal. He has an amazing review on BioShock Infinite.
Oh.
That's what really sold me on buying it, and that's what got me into BioShock.
Okay. Shit.
Yeah, so like I love me some Adam Sessler. I highly respect his reviews.
Okay.
And he shits on this game.
Really?
And I think to the point of where if you watch this review, I think you would absolutely agree with it. I agree with it. I'm sure at the time too, we have such a funny thing that we're doing where you're looking back on games. Card fighting games at that time were not that big at all.
No.
Like Magic the Gathering was what it was, and it was a stinky game. You know, like it was a butt crack, stinky neck beard game. There wasn't Hearthstone. It was not common to have these types of games in the time that this came out.
Yeah, that's fair.
But now, you definitely see the demand for it, and I quite liked the strategy to this game. So I think it was. I don't agree with the review, but I think you would.
Yeah, you know,
So I don't want to call that guy out.
I'm a mixed bag on this game. I gotta be honest with you, because I definitely, man, I gotta say, like 80%, I did not enjoy this game.
That's fair.
The 20% though, which was literally like the last few days, and I played quite a bit earlier today as well. I really wanted to give this game its shot, and and so I sweated it instead of being focused on I got to make as much progress as I can. Right? I'm like, you know what? We're just gonna slow it down. We're just gonna play the game. We're gonna try to do our best in every fight, because that's one of my chief complaints is that the fights take a while. They can take a while.
It's like probably I agree. It's probably like a 15-minute, potentially a 15-minute dedication of your time.
And
because you have to pay attention too. If you're not
really
paying attention, you end your turn and then you realize, oh my fuck, their whole team was blocked out and I could have just gotten like 4 good hits on the guy, and I just wasn't paying attention.
I wish, because you're trying to hurry up, because just to end your turn, it's like 3 button confirmations, or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a lot of menu navigating, and
the menu navigation is not great. The
It's
interface
definitely
is
not great.
User friendly at all.
And for the most part, I didn't realize like how much of it I could interact with.
Yeah.
Not only that, but there's no tool tips for like all of the stuff. So if you highlight a card and you select it, you get a selection of 4 or 5 options usually. Yeah.
Sometimes
depending on the type of card. So if you have a card in your hand that's not in the deck, you can obviously play it to the field or to your deck rather. Which is, God, I'm trying to remember, like, what do they call it? Like, ring in?
Ring in, yes.
Yeah, ring in. That's the menu option to play a card into the fucking field. Like, what? And then if you want to attack with a card, then it gives you confirmation options of what kind of attack, and you can do your AC attack.
Your AC attack is just your regular attack.
Yeah, it's just an attack. It's just a straight
action.
I don't know. And then you have the fusion option, which is just you partnering with any other card that you have in play.
And pretty much no matter what, you're going to take out the card you attack.
Oh, you'll annihilate whatever card you attack. And you're going to
hurt the card holder.
I did finally figure out that whichever card you initiate on your front line, the fusion, so whichever you go to first and select fusion, that's the card that gets... Because every attack, the card that's attacking, or cards that are attacking, they attack, and then the card that's being attacked returns an attack. And yeah, if you do a fusion, the first card that you initiate the fusion attack from is the one that takes the damage from the other card during the attack sequence.
I didn't figure that one out, but
yeah, I figured it out because I accidentally sacked one of my cards that didn't have as much HP when I did a fusion attack, and the other guy was had 800 health. I was like, I'm glad to have figured this out, but it would have been useful literally 10 seconds ago. But yeah, the naming on these, most all of these things are weird as fuck, and you kind of just have to figure it out trial by error. So I'm like, what is a fusion?
Yeah.
And then it's like, and it doesn't tell you select another card. It's just back to the pointer, and you're like,
Oh, and it even does. If you pick a card, because it has to be if the one that you first picked fusion, like you're gonna do a fusion attack. Mm-hmm. If it's a yellow card, once again I'm gonna use yellow as an example.
Yeah.
You have to select another yellow card.
Yeah.
You can't use green to do your fusion attack. It can only fuse with the same color as the card you first picked. Doesn't explain that. It just tells you pick a different card.
Yeah, it just says pick a different card. That is one of the shortcomings that I think once I got the hang of the game and kind of knew what I was doing, and I was like, oh, well, let's go back to the deck builder and let's fuck some shit up. I can actually I need to make sure that I have enough entry cards to, that I can summon or play into the field that don't have any color requirements that are just whatever the white mana, call it, right? So that way I can start generating colored mana to be able to do the rest of the shit that I need for this category of characters. But then I'm like, oh, but green has some dope shit, yellow's got some dope shit. I want a hybrid, which is a huge thing in deck building games like this.
Don't hybrid.
Don't hybrid.
Dude,
what the fuck? Don't hybrid.
You're
Solid one color.
So hard. It's so funny because you play against the computer and they seem to hybrid.
They're hybriding all the fucking time,
and it works out great for them.
So once I figured out that you discarding cards will give you a color of mana point in whatever color that character was.
Yep.
Once I realized that, I was like, oh, and then I would start plopping in some of the highest level red or blue cards that I had. And then every time they would come up, I would just sack them. And then I would use those as... Because you can use... let's say a given card has a 2 white, 3 yellow mana requirement. The white can be anything. It could be white. Yep. It could be any of the other colors. But the other colored ones in the requirements have to be that color. Yep. So I would just use them as wild cards.
Yeah.
And that worked fairly well to keep the mana pool flowing. But ultimately the colored ones are the important ones.
Well, mine ended up being 85% yellow, if not more, maybe about 90% yellow, and then 10% green because I didn't have enough yellow to fill it. If I would have had enough yellow to fill that, it would have just been a full yellow deck, and then that way you're just
cruising,
breaking in what you're using.
And you have to have 50 cards in your hand.
Yeah,
and I
don't seemed remember... big at first, but it is not.
Well, and it depends. For a 15-minute game, I suppose it's just fine, because you need that many cards to carry you through the time. But I just felt there were a lot of times where my opening hand would be all high level cards, which is awesome. Save, I don't have the resources to be able to even utilize them. And I kept running into that a lot, and I'd have to sack my entire first hand, and then I don't have a way to get a whole bunch of cards back. I have to just get one at a time.
You get one at a time if you don't have a special card, and then you are screwed because the other person has not ditched that many cards.
Right, so they can lay down, and because you can summon 3-4 cards in a single turn as long as you have the mana required to do so.
And then I had a card that once you played it, and it's so funny because I was hesitant on using this card for so long because, like you said, they don't fully explain the powers, that great when even you do finally figure out where it's at.
Yeah.
It doesn't always fully explain it, because this one is, when you play it, you pull 3 cards.
Yeah.
But actually, you pull 3 cards every turn now.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, game changer.
That's way different.
Absolutely.
I literally, oh my god,
I
was
would use
discarding
that
card.
Yeah,
I don't remember who
me
it
too.
was,
I know
but yeah.
exactly what I'm talking about.
Fuck?
Yeah, fucking day, man. That was like, because the card
God
itself
damn.
is like, it's a weak card. She doesn't have a strong attack.
Right.
That's why she's there.
Yeah, that's why. And I started playing around with the different, like the different character abilities and stuff, because for a while I thought I needed to like hold on to them, and then I realized no, that's actually huge. That's where the strategy of the game comes from. Is leveraging all of the different abilities, making keeping your mana reserves in line with whatever you're trying to do. You're not burning all of your mana on one turn or whatever. Because some of them have healing or restorative properties. Oh, did you realize? God, what do they call it? It's an action that you can use on the cards in your hand that are not in play. It's like back up.
Yes.
Like you can back up a different card with the one card, and you basically sack that card of a like colored card to heal it.
Yes.
Ugh.
I figured that out so quickly. Yeah.
Oh, fuck you. I didn't figure it out
until
literally this morning.
I think you and I have a different complaint, probably when it comes to games in general, about tutorials. Mm-hmm. I can't stand a tutorial. I want to play the game. I just want to play the game. I want to figure it out. I'm a very hands-on learner.
Yeah.
I hate hand holding. That's one thing that I really enjoyed Magic the Gathering, like on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was really getting into it, but it just the hand holding just keeps going and going and going. I understand too why a game like Magic the Gathering or a game like this one could even benefit from having such a long tutorial, because there is so much to it. But I am not going to learn that way. I'm going to learn by getting my ass kicked over and over and finally piecing it together. And I think that because of this is a game I will probably go back to again and again.
Really?
Because it's a great, even though it takes like 15 minutes to play, it's a good little time burner. It's a good pick up and play game for this mobile, on the go. If I rode a bus somewhere, this would be perfect for that.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
That's for sure. And again, like literally the last couple of days of playing, just really trying to get in there and just really figure it out, I began to appreciate it a lot better, and explore the weirdly translated menu buttons I don't understand, and just fucking around and seeing what everything does, and not being afraid to get my ass pounded by some cheeky princess because I'm just trying to figure out what everything does.
Well, the menu, it is so in depth. I did the same thing where I didn't really get a chance or didn't care to look into the menu until near the end of this play session, and it was like, wow, it just keeps going. Like you click and then there's a full list of 5 more things you can click on, and that's each one is a folder, and there's gonna be 5 more things you can click on. There's a lot to find out about the game itself, and the decks and the cards, and the card viewing is pretty cool.
Card viewing is pretty cool.
I didn't know a ton of these characters. I was surprised by how many I did know.
I think I recognized like 2 or 3.
Because once I got to when you get the choice of what side you're going to, because there's a tower that you're going to go up and battle people on each side. And after, I think, like 3 floors, you get to choose which side you're going to go on, if you want to stay on the side that you're on or if you want to go on the other side.
Yeah.
Each side is dedicated to which SNK or Capcom.
Right.
And you're going to be battling against only pretty much those characters, I believe. I don't know if it's mainly them and they throw in some SNK or vice versa. But once I hopped on the Capcom side, I was like, oh yeah, I know a lot of these. SNK, not so much. SNK is a largely fighting game brand.
Yeah, and there was one SNK. They brought one. There was an IP that they introduced to the card fighting series in this game, and I think it was Dante.
Oh.
Or maybe there's a collection of characters from.
I thought Dante was
Devil
Capcom.
May Cry series.
I thought that was Capcom.
Shit, it might be. Maybe I'm thinking, yeah. Well, and I did also do the Capcom side of the elevator too, so that's probably accurate.
Yeah.
Damn it, I was so sure that it was SNK, and I was like, oh wow, something from SNK that I didn't know that I knew, and that's cool. But
Metal Slug is SNK. See, I know Metal Slug.
I did read that. I couldn't tell you a single character from Metal
The
Slug.
guy that had his shorts, his like boxers, like he's like
waving. The
waving.
counter card.
Yeah, yeah, he's from Metal Slug. Yeah.
Oh shit, that's funny. I did not notice. I mean, I noticed that card obviously.
Right.
But I didn't. Yeah.
If you keep going to the side to the right, I think it is. You know, when you're looking at the descriptions of the cards.
Oh yeah,
it does give you like a little bio, and they
yeah.
usually tell you like what series they're from, or they make a reference to the series.
That's right. I did know that. I usually skipped it because I was more interested in like what they do or what they don't do. Even.
Yeah.
But I did read some of the bios. They were pretty cool.
Short and sweet.
Yeah, short and sweet. Sucked to have to flip back and forth constantly on the card to be able to see like what your damage and your health was, you know, and then also the rest of the requirements to actually utilize the card, and then what the abilities are.
Yeah.
So that's I think my chief complaint, and that's why I was ragging on the card interface and talking up Magic cards and shit like that.
That's fair.
But
because having played, I've got like a commander deck deal that I keep meaning to play with Morgan, and they're like late night game thing, you know. It is not easy. It's not easy to pick up and play like it was back in 2004.
Oh shit.
You know, you got to have a lot of context with these ones. Yeah. And maybe that's just the specific type of deck that I ended up buying. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's just my kind of experience with Magic, is it seems about the same amount of approachable as this game.
Yeah, I remember trying to play Magic. I want to say back in the day, but it wasn't. I mean, it was in this decade when the only time I ever got into Magic, and even then, only kind of. Just for me, it was the rules barrier, not being able to remember all the rules and who goes when and what, you know, all of that shit. Like the actual concept of the cards, I'm like, yeah, that part I can remember because it's on the cards, and as long as I remember these, you know, few points, then I can navigate the rest. But that's the intricacy of all the different, you know, tiny rules everywhere. I'm like, I don't remember. Why is it your turn now? Like, I don't remember.
See, that's why I liked Yu-Gi-Oh! Always seemed to me like it was gonna be a really easy card game.
Man, I love the anime, but I never.
It is the card game. I've played the one on the Switch a little bit, and it's similar to the other ones where it's like you turn it, you know, because it's like defense, and you can only do so many things. Certain cards can do this in this way, and certain cards can do attacks in a different way that it's turned.
Oh shit!
Or something, right? I don't know.
That seems.
I remember thinking, looking at it, being like, "Oh, this would be easy to play," and it's not.
That's fair.
I
like the anime.
Most card games most card fighting games like these are kind of hard to approach.
Yeah, like you said, learning curve.
Yeah,
for sure, learning curve, and that's fair. I want to give this game more time, but let's be honest.
You're not gonna go back to it.
I'm not going back to this game.
I'll go back to it. I want to see if there is the soundtrack on Spotify or anywhere. It was so good.
Oh.
It was beef, dude. I fucking love that soundtrack.
Shit, I got some bad news for you.
You did not like
I fucking hated it.
How did you hate that?
I wanted
to
put a pencil through my eardrum.
At first, it was fucking upbeat as shit. You're like, just fucking going, right? And then when you're in between battles, it's just a super chill lobby vibes. Persona. It gave me very Persona type music vibes.
Yeah, I
fucking loved it.
So let me say this.
Best part of the game.
I liked the aesthetic of the audio.
Shut up.
No, I did.
Shut up.
I did. I really did.
What there was just zero variance. Are you about to say?
There was just zero variance. It was just the same thing on loop. It was the same 8-second bit on loop for each scenario.
I don't think that's true.
Oh man.
I think it changed on levels. I think each level.
Oh yeah, on the levels. But
how much time were you spending on the levels, Ed?
Like 45 minutes to an hour.
Jesus Christ. Okay, I don't think I was taking as long as you were.
There were like 3 to 4 fights per level.
I mean, I would play like a battle, put it down and go and do something. Eventually go back, pick it up, do another battle.
See, I'd like sit down and try to clear a floor in a sitting. And just like this music.
I think even then I'd be even more entranced in it. Like, fuck yeah, I want this. If it is just a fucking 8-bit loop or like a whatever you said, I don't. Ugh. I don't fucking care. I want to put that shit on loop. It's gonna be our intro music.
Oh god, dude, no, thank you. I know I couldn't handle it. Maybe it was because I spent so long with these battles, or maybe it's because 80% of the time I was playing this game, I was getting my absolute shit handed to me.
See, I was kicking ass and taking names. Dude. I felt like this was a game I was actually good at.
Once I got the feel for it, like the fusion attacks, and I realized, like, oh, I just need to like fill my deck, and then just sit back and collect mana.
I want to battle you.
Is that an option?
I bet it is.
I didn't see that it was.
Ugh, I'll have to look and see, but
I see, and I feel like I would enjoy this game a lot more, like playing versus somebody.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if it has the Wi-Fi connectability thing.
All right,
then we can absolutely do that.
I'd be into that.
I'm gonna beat your ass.
It's not the first time I've heard that.
That brings like a whole nother fun element to it that I didn't even think about. Like,
yeah,
because you do have the Wi-Fi connectivity for this DS.
Yeah, I always forget about that.
So if it did have that, not all games
as long
did,
as it's
but if
like
this one
client
had
side, because there's a lot of games that were server side.
Well, sure, but there's I feel like most of them also had the local.
Local would be dope.
The local ones as well, but it'd also be sick though. Back in the day, though, to play this online, fucking playing through, building up your deck.
Yeah, I would fuck with this if it was like online.
Yeah,
and like I didn't get to that point certainly, but I had read that this game gets really grindy near the like midpoint or something.
I felt like it was already kind of grindy as far as getting new cards.
Yeah, they don't give you a whole lot at a time.
When you beat a boss, you get new cards from them. They just give you a deck, and that's where I don't know if it's a whole deck. I don't know the size of it, but
shit,
because I don't know what's in it. Not a whole deck, a whole pack.
Oh.
I think there's like 5 or 6 in a pack.
Yeah.
So they give you a full pack.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, a deck?
Yeah,
dude.
not a deck. No,
I was like, man, maybe like it's because you're smoking these bosses, you're getting decks. I'm getting little I'm getting little scrumpets, dude.
I love the scissor cut to open the foil package.
Yeah.
That was great.
That was pretty cool.
They had a lot of sweet little touches in it.
Yeah.
And it had a great choice of touchscreen or control.
I mean, I don't know that I would say great.
You could do either. You could do everything with either or.
Man, I mean, yeah, you're not wrong.
And the touch controls pretty good.
Touch controls, I didn't really use them at all, to be honest.
I don't know how they could have been that bad, though. Either, you know.
That probably would have been the move. Now that I'm thinking about it, because I did watch some like later gameplay, and I don't know by what method this guy was playing, emulator or what. Right, I assume so. In order to get a screen recording,
you can also do a screen recording through a 2DS, I believe.
Ooh, really?
So you could do it that way, but most likely emulation, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, regardless, it looked like he was using some touch controls, and I don't know if that was through a mouse or if he was emulating it through a pad. I have no idea, but it looked like he would like tap and drag cards at times because you couldn't see where the whatever pointer was in the video, but.
Yeah, I did a lot of tap.
It looks so much more efficient in terms of like just making moves because you don't have to like move the highlighter to select the card that you want. You just tap on it. So yeah, maybe that would have been the play.
I will agree with this is not a perfect game, but the pacing on things like menu controls. Yeah. And like you were saying, how like many times you have to click through to end your turn, things like that. Definitely see why this was kind of the end of the line, especially along the time when it came out. There was no demand for this at all.
No, I could see them doing something much newer on like current gen, and see it doing well if it's held to today's standards for this type of title. You know, like I said, the game's there, and it's not a bad gameplay wise. It's not a bad game. I don't think at all. It just was missing all the rest.
Do you have any familiar? Are you familiar with Capcom versus SNK or any of those fighting games.
No, not really. No.
They have the most beautiful graphics.
Like the new ones?
No, I mean every single one that I have seen. I don't know about the Dreamcast one. I guess I don't know if there is a 3D one, but it's all 2D sprite work. Capcom versus Marvel, Capcom versus X-Men. All these games have just this fucking gorgeous artwork to it. And while I don't think I cared for the art in this game at all.
I mean, there wasn't really much to speak of. You just had like character designs on cards,
But then you were kind of
there was like zero animation in this game, let's be honest.
There was zero animation, and there was like it was like a really bad pixelation. I don't know. I felt like I'd seen other games look much better. Why I felt like they really didn't try hard on the art for the cards.
No, it felt very cookie cutter.
I enjoyed the some of them were fun, but some of them were just like cookie cutter.
Yeah.
And it looked almost like a bad hand drawing.
Yeah, some were definitely better than others, but overall, no, I have to agree with you. I was kind of bummed with how little sustenance there was in the visual representation. Because for me, in terms of card games, that's where it's at, is like the artwork, right? And
yes.
Like sometimes you get these like animated modifications that happen to cards. Oh God, what? There's a new one out on the mobile game, Snapped, I think. I think it might be Marvel Snapped. Super bare bones, super simple card based or card fighting game, and it's super quick. It's really easy to pick up. The mechanics are super simple, but they are deep and they cover, and the gameplay, it's really great.
Okay.
Like it's just a super quick and dirty one, and like you'll play around in maybe a minute. So
wow.
It's pretty quick. It's done really well, but as you level up cards and stuff like that, they'll get like hollow effects or alternate color appearances,
that's cool.
Or then they'll have a 3D, and so like every time something happens with this card, it'll flash big on screen and give you like a little rotate side to side. Yeah, just give you something to look at and be like, that's your card. That's this guy fucking shit up,
You don't need the lightning bolt attack thing that they have in this game.
Oh god, the attack animations were horrible.
They were horrible.
Like
they were unnecessary. You know, because like you said, I care more about the art on the card.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the DS had its limitations, but I refuse to believe that is the limitation. You've got 64 bits. Just do sprite work and
anything. They could have done something, but they just didn't.
Yeah.
Even Hearthstone doesn't really do shit. You put your cards down, and then they bump, lift up and smack into each other.
Yeah.
And then that's it. But then the simplicity also, and the speed of which the action's taking place, here's the result. It's quick and dirty. This game, it's like all the cards lift into the air, and then they
each take their turn doing their shaky thing.
This one's shaking. Because it took some damage. And this guy's turn. Pop, 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 pop.
I lost 300. KO.
Yeah. Oh.
You lost 300. KO.
You're like, I know, both these cards annihilated each other. Let's fucking go. I did the math.
I chose this. I looked at every single one before I chose my attack pattern and my defense pattern.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Yeah. All right. I can see where you're coming from. Where you say you really wanted to like this game. You really wanted to get into it.
Again, we talk about pacing. So I'm already going a slower pace because I'm both of us, I'm sure, especially at the beginning, we're reading all of the cards, we're trying to formulate strategies. What do these cards do? How do they play together? What am I trying to even do here? What is this guy's cards doing? And then so I'm already taking it at a slower pace. And then when I finally figure out what I want to do and I'm trying to run with it, and the game's like, cool, we're gonna attack. Grab these cards. I'm like, I could play the physical game faster than this.
Mm-hmm. No, you can't, because there is no physical game.
There's no physical game. So that's cool. Thanks, guys, fuckers.
I think I don't think there's anything else to cover on that. That was pretty in depth.
That's pretty in depth. I think I think we did it some justice. I wanted to love this game so much more because I do have a soft spot for like card battle games or whatever the fuck they're called.
I'm learning I do. I'm learning I enjoy them because I had a really good time with this game.
Hell yeah. Check out, again, I think it's Marvel Snapped.
I will. That seems too fast a pace for me.
Honestly,
it's too fast. I'm not. I don't know. I'll check it out. I just saw.
Yeah, try it out because it's a good entry level, and I love it because you're fighting other actual people, and so the reason it's called Snapped is because there's 5 rounds I think in a match, and I think you were only ever putting out like there's only 3 spots on a field that you can put a card down, and each zone has like its own effect, and sometimes the effect that the zone has activates on a certain turn, or it will change other zones. They'll do all kinds of things, and then each card, again, they have like a power level and like an attack, and shit, and it's all right there. Super quick and dirty, super easy to figure out. Moves are timed, so you like it's meant to be fast paced, but then after like the second like round between you and your opponent, then you can snap, because you get like whatever the arbitrary like prestige points are after you win, and then that's your rank, basically how good you are. But then if you snap, and I don't remember how the math works out, but it doubles down on your bet on this. So now, like, instead of maybe breaking even if you lose, you're like, nah, dude, I'm a slap your ball sack, I'm doubling down on this match. And then if your opponent snaps, it like locks in the bet, and it doubles the risk. I don't know. It's crazy, but there's like some dope psychology.
Like there's like a gambling.
Yeah. Well, and I think they did a TED Talk about that specific game feature, because I think they were testing the game before release, and they were like, people aren't having a good time when they're losing, and like they did a whole demonstration about like this concept of you need to feel good about winning and losing. So they talk about this feature because something about after snapping you can then forfeit and still come out okay. Like you'll retain your points even if you've lost. And so they changed it from like
where you don't have to commit to that.
Yeah, they just changed. Well, yeah, and they changed like some of the like the copy, like the text that comes up on screen, like when you when you escape, because it says something like escaped instead of like retreated or something like that. So you're like, I got away. Instead of like, you ran away like a little bitch.
You sure you want to quit now, loser?
Yeah. But no, it does a good game. It does a good game.
It does a good game. I've noticed I had an ad come up for a app for Pokemon cards.
Oh.
Where you scan your cards and it adds it to your collection.
Oh.
And I was thinking that could be a very cool concept for a card fighting game too, where you can only battle with the cards you have actually physically purchased through the packs.
Ooh.
Through your like aluminum foil packs.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I would just pull up like Google Image all the cards and then just scan them in off of there.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have some certain way to.
Yeah, they could put barcodes or something on them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, do a pin or some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is something I could really get into. I could see myself losing plenty of money to some cards through that.
Man, I feel like that was the 90s and the 2000s. Like, that was the whole thing. It's like, you could get the game, but then it requires you to assemble or amass a collection of all these individual parts.
Oh yeah, like the Sky Riders one that they did. Was that Spyro or something? Right?
Man, every McDonald's toy featured it throughout like the mid to late 90s.
Where you had to get them all together to put together.
Dude, like the
Inspector Gadget one.
Everything was like that back then. Like, collect them all. That was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like the collection aspect. Because, I just remember, like, oh my god, my first rare, or my first legendary, or whatever. And I'm still a dirty slut for roll mechanics.
Yeah.
Like, RNG with loot, holy fuck, man. I mean, I have a RuneScape account, if that tells you what you want to know. But, yeah, I don't know, the physical collection aspect, I was really into it when I was a kid, but,
See, and I like the idea of having something to look for.
Yeah.
So when it comes to a collectible of like Nintendo DS or Game Boy Colors games, it's you're on a trip with your friends or whoever, and you see a retro game store, or you collect old fucking Marlboro. You decide you're really into Marlboro, vintage Marlboro collection things like license plates, ashtrays, playing cards. Just because that's your thing to now when you're out shopping, like, oh, let's go into this flea market and fucking see what cool finds I can get. And then you get into that world a little bit of like, oh, that sign is fucking rare and expensive, and then you get that fucking dopamine.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely something you just got to dive into head first, and you just learn as you go. And then
and it's like, I don't know why I'm collecting it. It's just something I got into. Yeah,
I used to have a wild pencil sharpener collection.
There you go. That's a fun one. I don't have any cool collections
like
that.
I don't think I have them anymore. I think they're all gone.
You know, I had a little while where I'd acquired like 3 typewriters. I got one. I sought out the one, and then like 2 more were given to me, and then I was like, no more. These are not something I want to fucking collect. It's
you
cool,
don't have a typewriter
but
room
that
in
is
the house?
a heavy fucking thing. It takes up space. It's like, no. I guess now that I have a huge garage, bring on the typewriters. But actually, please don't.
Yeah, everybody, we'll put Fletcher's home address in the description. Send him a typewriter.
Yeah, enjoy the postage on that.
Oh Christ! Oh God, yeah, that'd be a hefty package to ship. I don't even want to imagine.
It'd be fucking insane. I don't either.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
All right, let's go ahead and select our game. Do you have the randomizer? Did I ever send you the randomizer? I didn't think about that.
Didn't you put it on the drive?
Let's find out.
Yeah, let's find out.
All right, so we have failed to make a successful randomizer on a whim.
I mean, to be fair, the randomizer works.
The randomizer does work.
I accidentally made a list of 3DS games, not DS games.
Yeah.
So that's my bad.
We're going to turn to a list here that we found, I believe. You seen anything good on it?
So I just got to the top of the list here. We've got Bob's Game. Never heard of it.
Bob's Game. It sounds
quirky, and I'm already excited for it.
All right.
We have Face Training.
That, I swear, is a 3DS game.
This is a DSi.
Oh, DSi. That makes sense.
Yeah. Electroplankton.
I know of Electroplankton.
I've not heard of it. Run High School Girl. Shinrei Puzzle Academy. Ooh. A lot of these. Touch DIC.
Yeah, I am. I am in 6th grade still. That's great. These must all be homebrew. I think you're on a homebrew.
No, this one looks like a straight up.
Well, I mean, anyone could put that image together.
All right, yeah, that's fair.
This looks legit. Like, have you ever seen like Super Saiyan 17 on Google, and you're like, it's real.
It's totally real. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, let me look up just a quick random.
Yeah.
Let me try my hand at Googling. Yeah. It seems like Ed's fucking bad at it.
The one time.
This is why This is why we do it at my house.
I mean, I did all the work on that one too. I just can't find that same list of DS games. It was so perfect when we found the one. Gotta upload that shit to the cloud ASAP.
Not so random because I've recently seen it talked about. I think they're making it. Nope. Screw it. I want to do Sonic Chronicles of the Dark Brotherhood if Bob's Game doesn't exist.
All right, bet. I'm super down for it.
It's
honestly,
a Sonic RPG.
You were talking Sonic Up
last episode,
and I've never really dug my heels into Sonic.
I'd forgot how much Sonic I had played because of my buddy Joey, and we were in high school. This is when we were really getting into, me especially was getting really into the retro gaming thing, and I was pulling him with me, and he had an old Sega Genesis, so we would stay up late fucking playing Sonic and Sonic 2.
Hell yeah.
I think Sonic 2 is one we played a lot.
Okay.
And
gotcha.
I had totally forgotten about that until the Sonic movie came out.
Oh,
and
yeah,
we were watching
I haven't seen it.
And Morgan kind of asked me she was asking me questions like, I don't really know anything about Sonic. And I was like, all I know is, and I just remembered that. And then I kind of recalled, like, oh, there was a Sonic Advance games. I remember playing those. Or at least there were Sonic games on, like, miniclip.com. Like, Flash. Sure. Like, they were good Sonic Flash games. I remember playing those quite a bit. And then now playing Sonic Adventure. I believe that's what it is. Yeah. It's, I'm really enjoying that one as well. And I'm kind of fanboying on Sonic right now.
All right. Well, hopefully you're real, Bob's Game. Otherwise,
yeah, I'm so intrigued. I hope it is too.
I kind of do too, because it just sounds so. It could be anything. So that could be 2 weeks of fun. That could be 2 weeks of Sonic.
Yeah. And it's not even going to be like true Sonic because it's BioWare Sonic.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the RPG one.
It'll be interesting.
Same team that did.
It's an RPG Sonic, so it's not even a classic Sonic experience.
No.
Yeah, can I just play like a straight up like normal ass game?
Do you want to? I'm sure there's a straight up Sonic game that we.
No. This is fine. This is truly fine.
We can elect it. No, let's do it. We'll elect it. We'll find out.
We'll figure it out.
Let's look up real quick here. Sonic on the DS. Sonic on the DS. So we've got. Here you go, Ed. If that game does not exist.
Okay.
If we don't play Bob's Game. Or if we play Bob's Game and it's like a 20-minute experience type thing, then we will play Sonic Classic Collection.
Ooh.
4 games in 1.
Oh, shit.
So.
All right, bet.
And that could be fun, too, because then who knows who plays which game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, as far as the Sonic
ones, yeah. I mean, I guess same could be said for Bob's Game, depending on what that's all about. So,
yeah.
All right,
we'll find out. You'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. Y'all will find out next time.
Next time
on Pocket Cast.
Game on, gamers.
Yeah.